The Lost City of Petra is an amazing ancient site which we still have much to learn about. Covering approximately 12 kilometers, you pass first what's called the Obelisk tomb, then you enter a gorge about 1.2 kilometers long which is called the Seek, which then presents you with what's known as the Treasury. Then the site leads through a series of many chambers, carvings, tombs and monuments, eventually ending at what's known as the monastery. And can't forget that most of these are carved into the rock rather than constructed piece by piece. There really is no other place like it that we found on Earth. It's still unknown as to how old Petra is or when it was first settled in. We know it held independence by the Nabateans until around 106 AD when the Romans finally took over, and it's generally believed that it may have been established around the 4th century BC as the capital city to the Nabatean kingdom. From records though, it appears like the Nabatean kingdom really grew in the 4th century BC, establishing numerous trade routes around the region notably, so they may possibly have had an impressive workforce allowing them to create the city of Petra. Apparently, the earliest historical record of Petra was from an attempted attack on them in 312 BC as recorded by various Greek historians. We don't have any written records from the Nabateans though, mainly just inscriptions on some walls and coins which don't mention the building or any details at all really, so we only have outside and enemy sources to refer to for information unfortunately. So starting at the Seek to enter the city, it has a water canal carved down the entire length of it and was probably the main fresh water source in here. The area has always been susceptible to flash floods, and they would catch the water using dams, cisterns and water conduits leading to the city to channel the water, allowing them to store for use during long periods of drought also. That's pretty impressive engineering to say the least, especially for the time. The gorge as well looks like it was a natural feature which has been touched up and possibly expanded in parts for human purposes, especially from the look of the various cuts and markings on the walls. Now on to the Treasury. It measures 40 metres tall or just over 135 feet and 25 metres wide or about 80 foot. You can see just how big it is with people as reference. It's the most finely carved structure in Petra and has fine detailing that looks suspiciously Greek in design as pointed out by various researchers, and I've seen people discussing whether the fine detail was carved later by the ancient Greeks or if it was carved during the initial creation, and they may have possibly hired Greek architects to design the finer work, which may be the case if they wanted the Treasury to stand out especially. The doorway alone must be nearly 10 metres tall, and just look at the chamber inside, so finely cut out, and there are these 3 mysterious doors which don't really seem to go anywhere. They obviously had a purpose, but the meaning has been long lost to the sands of time for now. There is also a chamber underneath the Treasury, which is said to be a similar size to that of the Treasury's room. However, there's no footage I could find of this, only of the metal grate blocking it from being entered. I think this is also the only building at Petra that has an underground chamber to accompany it, which is another sign that the Treasury was an extremely important building. The building known as the Urn Tomb is another very curious one. It has different cutouts on the back wall, and again really seemingly unnecessarily high ceilings, to the point where you could fit 3 or 4 floors comfortably with plenty of headroom on each floor. It also has windows which none of the other large ones seem to have. You really have to appreciate the colouring pattern of the sandstone in these constructions though. It looks truly amazing and mesmerising in every chamber. Now having a look at the amphitheatre they constructed, it's large enough to seat about 8,500 people. However, it was apparently expanded by the Romans to fit this amount, and was said to seat around 3,000 people originally. It's still an amazing construction though, and shows that there must have been thousands if not tens of thousands of people living in Petra when it flourished. It's quite dense around this central part of the city, and other locations surrounding the theatre include, for example, the Street of Facades, and then the royal tombs then head further out towards the Great Temple, with the site eventually ending at the monastery. The monastery measures 45 metres high, or around 148 feet, and 50 metres wide, or around 160 foot, which is twice the width of the Treasury. Again, the monastery has a curious cutout in the room with stairs either side of it. There is a chamber almost opposite to the monastery as well, which has a strange cutout, about the size of a person. Again, its purpose completely unknown, and I can't even fathom a guess as to what these cutouts were used for. It also appears that the original alignment of the construction of the buildings didn't matter either, except for the temple, as the Great Temple is the only structure that's actually aligned with the cardinal directions. Not sure if this is just Google Earth's pictures being skew as well, but the back portion seems more accurate than the big large front platform. There are many other little sites and monuments in Petra. According to archaeologists working at the site, only less than 20% has actually been excavated, so there is plenty that is still buried to be discovered as we continue to learn more about Petra over time. There was even a massive new monument found in 2016 near the city centre by drone and satellite imagery, which was completely buried, so it'll be interesting to see what that turns out to be. They're calling it a ceremonial platform. Petra still needs much looking into over time. The only writings we actually have are from invasion attempts from the Egyptians, the Greeks and the Romans, so who knows how long that place had actually been kept a secret for. I'm going to wrap it up there for this video anyway, but we'll look into Petra in more detail in other videos, and I'll try to cover any future discoveries. So what do you think? Do you think the Nabateans built Petra? Do you think someone else built it around the same time? Or do you think it's far older and was inhabited by a far more ancient culture lost to history? Well, please leave a comment with your thoughts. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and take care of yourselves out there.